Fox 61 News at 10 starts now.
Now at 10, we are following breaking news out of Washington, D.C., where a liberal justice from the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a lower court order that requires the Trump administration to provide full funding of SNAP food aid payments for the month of November. Thank you so much for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Annette Montgomery. Now, the legal battle leaves millions of low-income Americans uncertain about when they'll receive food assistance amid the current government shutdown. The decision issued by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pauses a Thursday order that had compelled the administration to make full November payments to roughly 42 Americans who rely on SNAP to help buy groceries. Jackson's ruling means millions could now see delays or reductions in their benefits as this legal battle plays out. The order remains in effect until 48 hours after a Boston-based appeals court rules on whether to grant a lower suspension. Now, giving the Trump administration time to return to the Supreme Court if necessary. We'll have more on how Connecticut is making sure those impacted in the state are still receiving their benefits in the next half hour. And as this breaking story develops, we'll of course keep you updated on air and online at fox61.com or the free Fox 61 News app. Just scan the QR code on your screen to download it right now.
I mean, yesterday we were tracking the flights all day long. We were actually tracking our Delta flight, seeing every half an hour how much ever it got delayed. And we are going to Atlanta. Our connecting flight is in Atlanta, which is the busiest airport.
And speaking of the government shutdown, you just heard it there. Travelers are now checking the status of their flights more often now as air travel restrictions go into effect today. The Federal Aviation Administration says this is to help reduce the workload of air traffic controllers who have been working without pay since the government shutdown began. Now, this is leading to canceled flights, sometimes with little notice to travelers. Fox 61's Stephen Reels has the latest. The reductions from Bradley International Airport is now seeing.
So we've already seen a lot of these cancellations happen across the country, but here at Hartford, not so much. I want you to take a look at these arrivals and departures behind me. From what we can tell, according to the Connecticut Airport Authority, the people who lead this airport at BDL, they say what you're seeing right now, this is the status quo. Those delays are normal. And even that one cancellation you see departing for Washington, I'm told by a spokesperson with the CAA, that might not even have anything to do with the government shutdown. It could be a ripple effect, but there's no telling if this was actually canceled due to these new travel restrictions that are being rolled out really over the next week. We are at 4% of that reduction, but that's going to be increasing by 2% over the next few days. So on Tuesday, we'll add another 2%, then we'll be at 6%, another 2% on Thursday next week, and this time next week, we will be at that 10% travel reduction. But we did get a statement from the people behind Bradley International Airport, and they told us that Bradley is not going to directly be affected by this change. The CAA says that it has not been notified that Bradley would be part of these FAA reductions. However, the airlines here do fly to many of the impacted airports, the busy airports around us. Think of Newark, think of LaGuardia, think of Logan. Those are going to be part of these reductions that will be impacting 40 different airports across the United States. The international flights right now, those should be relatively unaffected by these changes. We are going to be talking about the domestic flights. Those are going to be the ones most at risk. But it is going to be up to the airlines to decide what airplanes are going to be impacted by this. You have United, who wants to keep their hub travel between their major airports. So think of the United hubs of Chicago to Dulles or Dulles to Houston. They want to keep those flights going as normally as possible. But really, this is going to be up to the air carriers to determine this. So while these cancellations and delays start rolling out, you do have a lot of travelers who tell me that they're just nervous that if they can get to their destination, they don't know if they'll be able to get home.
Because I'm flying into Chicago, I was afraid that the flight would be canceled. and I'm afraid that we're not going to be able to get home. It's a 13-hour drive. I don't want to drive home.
So you have a couple of travel tips that AAA wants you to be aware of if you plan on traveling over the next few days. Big thing is make sure you're going to get notified. So that means downloading both the airline and the airport apps to get notified as soon as possible. So in case you need to pivot, you can sooner than later. Also, add an extra hour if you need to get to the airport. So make that 3 hours if you're traveling domestically or 4 hours if you're traveling internationally. And also don't be afraid to look into travel insurance. That just gives you a little extra cushion if you do end up facing these cancellations. But that's going to vary airline to airline. So you're going to need to read the fine print if you do plan on traveling over these next few days. At Bradley International Airport, Stephen Reels, Fox 61.
Thank you so much, Stefan. And speaking of the impacts at airports, with more than 1,000 flights canceled, it's now driving a rush to roadways. Hertz Car Rental reported that its one-way rental reservations have jumped more than 20% over the past 2 days compared to last year. Stranded travelers are looking for other ways to reach their destinations in the midst of domestic flight reductions now taking hold at 40 major U.S. airports. Hertz CEO is urging Congress to quickly pass a government funding bill to restore traveler stability, saying, quote, every day of delay creates unnecessary disruption, end quote. Right now, a portion of Main Street in Somers is closed after a serious crash. State police say it involved 2 cars and happened just after 7:30 p.m. tonight. LiveStar has been dispatched and 1 person was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 2 others had minor injuries. We'll update you on air and online when the road reopens. A 17-year-old Waterbury student was arrested today after police say they found a handgun inside of his book bag. This happened at Waterbury Career Academy. Right now, we don't know what time the gun was reported, but the school went into a shelter-in-place while officers responded. The school district says the school resource officer quickly detained the boy. Officers arrested the student. The shelter-in-place was lifted, and everyone went back to class.
I never thought my school could be the school that such an incident happens. That's the unfortunate way of the world, you know.
And police tell us students they spoke to knew he had a gun on him yesterday. Right now, it's not clear what charges that student faces. Also happening over in Waterbury tonight, a house fire is under investigation after it filled Sylvan Avenue with smoke all afternoon. The home, described by fire officials as a hoarder situation, was difficult for crews to enter due to debris inside. The deputy fire chief says firefighters had to fight the flames from outside before finally gaining access. The rear of the home suffered the most damage, and investigators say it's still unclear how that fire started. We know arson dogs were also called to the scene as part of the investigation.
It's just sad to see it's holiday time now, and what are you gonna do? You know, kids, food. It's like starting over. That's too much. I mean, I will not wish this on my worst enemy.
As soon as we have any more details on the ongoing investigation, we'll update you on air and online. Over in Milford, firefighters rescued 2 dogs after a house fire on Sigmund Drive. Fire crews arrived to find smoke coming from the vents, but the good news is no one was home. That means no injuries were also reported. Another fire investigation is currently underway in Hartford after a fire broke out at an abandoned home on Webster Street earlier today. The 3-story building was fully engulfed when firefighters arrived, spreading from the 1st to the 2nd floor. Crews quickly knocked down that fire and prevented it from spreading any more. No injuries were reported. Well, students at 2 schools in Bristol will be reminded of the sacrifice of 2 fallen police officers every time they enter their gym. 2 school gymnasiums in town will bear the names of the officers who gave the ultimate sacrifice, losing their lives in the line of duty. It happened 3 years ago, but Fox 61's Jalen Anderson breaks down today what makes this dedication so special.
The Bristol Board of Education approved the name changes this week. The gym's names will be for Lieutenant Dustin DeMonte and Sergeant Alex Hamsey. Both officers had big roles in the school community. DeMonte and Hamzy lost their lives in October of 2022. They were ambushed after they responded to a 911 call. Both were shot. It may have happened years ago, but the tragedy left a lasting impact on the community, which still honors their service and sacrifice. Last month, the Bristol Police Department privately honored DeMonte and Hamzy on the 3rd anniversary of the killings. Every person I spoke to in Bristol agreed that this dedication was the right thing to do, and they hope for generations to come they understand the importance of the officers' dedication and the safety they provided. Sergeant Hamzy's name will be on the gym at the new Northeast Middle School. He was born and raised in Bristol and attended Northeast. Lieutenant DeMonte's name will be on the gym at Green Hills School. He served as a school resource officer and spent a lot of time with students and teachers there. The name served to symbolize just how impactful these officers and their sacrifice to the greater community. School leaders and members of the Bristol Police Department spoke about the decision to dedicate the gyms to the fallen officers. They said it was important to do this so that no one forgets Lieutenant DeMonte and Sergeant Hamzy and the impact they had on this community and the sacrifices that they made. In Bristol, Jalen Anderson, Fox 61.
Thanks so much, Jalen. Well, following the deadly UPS cargo plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky Tuesday, a group of people and business owners are now taking legal action. A new lawsuit accuses UPS, Boeing, and General Electric of negligence and recklessness. According to the complaint, the Boeing McDonnell Douglas MD-11, quote, acted like a bomb and ignited more than 200,000 pounds of jet fuel and nearby materials. Attorneys for the plaintiffs called it a tragedy that needlessly shattered the lives of many in the community. The class action suit seeks compensation for injuries, emotional distress, and financial losses. The crash left at least 13 people dead and several others missing. Right now, the cause of the crash remains under investigation.